Most people want their life to change. Better health, more money, stronger relationships, peace of mind. But here's the truth. Life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And that change doesn't start with the government, the economy, or the people around you. It starts with you. Think of it this way. If you want your world to improve, you must improve. If you want more, you must become more. The soil doesn't decide the harvest. The seed does, and you are the seed. The moment you begin to change your thinking, your habits, your discipline, your world begins to shift around you. Some people wait for conditions to improve before they take action. But conditions don't improve until you do. Your income, your influence, your happiness, they rise when you rise. Life responds to the person you become. So this journey is simple, but it's not easy. It requires honesty, responsibility, and consistency. Yet the reward is extraordinary, a life you designed, not one you settled for. Remember, nothing around you changes until something within you changes. Today, let's explore how changing yourself can truly change your life. Your life won't change until you do. That's the starting point. I know it sounds simple, maybe too simple, but let me assure you, it's one of the most powerful truths you'll ever discover. Most people wait around, hoping circumstances will shift, waiting for luck to strike, waiting for the economy to improve, waiting for someone to come along and rescue them. But here's the reality. Your future isn't determined by chance. It's determined by choice. And those choices come from the changes you're willing to make within yourself. Let me give you a picture. Think of the caterpillar. At first it crawls along the ground, limited, slow, seeing life from only a few inches above the dirt. And then something remarkable happens. The caterpillar goes into a cocoon. In that hidden, quiet, uncomfortable process, it begins to change. It doesn't happen in a day. It doesn't happen without struggle. But eventually it emerges as a butterfly, able to fly, able to see the world from a whole new perspective. What's the lesson? The environment didn't change. The trees didn't get shorter. The sky didn't come closer. The caterpillar changed. And suddenly the same world offered new possibilities. That's how life works. You can't always control the weather, the government, or the people around you. But you can control what happens inside of you. The caterpillar doesn't negotiate with the environment. It doesn't say, well, I'll become a butterfly if the trees bend lower, if the wind softens, if the world makes it easy. No, the caterpillar decides, I must change. And when it does, its whole existence transforms. It's the same with us. Some people spend years waiting for better opportunities, waiting for perfect timing. But the truth is, conditions don't improve until you do. Your income, your influence, your confidence, your relationships. None of these things change permanently until you change. If you want more, you must become more. If you want better, you must become better. Think about a farmer. He doesn't stand at the edge of his field saying, I hope the harvest will be good this year. I hope the soil is kind to me. No, the farmer knows that the quality of his harvest depends on the seeds he plants, the care he takes, the work he puts in, and you are no different. Life is simply the soil. It will return to you what you plant, but only if you decide to plant wisely. If you plant excuses, you'll harvest disappointment. If you plant discipline, you'll harvest success. Now, the process of change is not always comfortable. The cocoon isn't comfortable for the caterpillar. Discipline isn't always comfortable for us. Waking up earlier, saving money instead of spending it, exercising when you'd rather stay in bed, reading when you'd rather scroll. These things don't feel easy. But here's the key. Discomfort is the price of transformation. You cannot change and stay comfortable at the same time. And yet, look at the reward. The butterfly gains wings. The farmer gains a harvest. And you gain a new life. A life designed by intention, not by accident. A life shaped by growth, not by excuses. A life where your future is no longer controlled by circumstances, but by your own choices. So if you're tired of your current results, don't beg the world to change. Don't wish for fewer problems. Don't wait for miracles. Instead, ask yourself, how can I change? How can I become stronger, wiser, more disciplined? Because when you grow, everything around you grows. When you improve, life improves. The world doesn't hand you transformation on a silver platter. It hands you opportunity. And then it waits to see what kind of person you will become to seize it. Success isn't about chasing luck. It's about developing the character, the skills, the mindset that naturally attracts better results. That's why I say your life won't change until you do. Not a little, not halfway, but truly, deeply, deliberately. You can have more health, more wealth, more joy, more peace. But to achieve that, you must first change who you are at the core. The change within creates the change without. Think again of the butterfly. It didn't just get new wings. It became something new, and so must you. Change your perspective. And the same world looks different. Change your attitude. And the same problems become opportunities. Change your habits. And the same 24 hours turn into a foundation for success. The message is simple. Don't wait for life to get better. Don't hope for someone else to make the first move. Take responsibility. Take action. Decide today that you will no longer live by default. You will live by design. Transformation begins within. And once you begin that process, the results outside will astonish you. Your life won't change until you do. But once you do, once you truly commit, there is no limit to how far you can fly. One of the greatest steps toward changing your life is learning to see yourself clearly. Not the version you show others. Not the excuses you give, but the real you. Because here's the truth. You can't fix what you don't see. If you're blind to your own patterns, your own weaknesses, your own habits, then you're like a driver who refuses to look at the dashboard. You won't know you're running out of fuel until the car stops in the middle of the road. Most people go through life pointing out what's wrong with everybody else. If my boss would change, if my partner would change, if the government would change, they create long lists of everything outside of themselves. But the real work begins when you stop pointing outward and start looking inward. Because you'll find that many of the things holding you back are not out there. They're right here, in your routines, in your beliefs, in the little choices you make every single day. Now, this isn't about beating yourself up. It's not about guilt or shame. It's about awareness. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. If you can see it, you can change it. If you can't see it, you'll repeat it over and over until life forces you to wake up. So, how do we begin to see our patterns? One of the simplest, most powerful tools is journaling. I know it sounds old-fashioned. In a world of technology, who has time to sit with pen and paper? But let me tell you, journaling is like holding up a mirror to your own mind. You write down what you did, how you felt, what you thought, and over time, the patterns start to appear. You begin to notice, every time I'm stressed, I overeat. Or every time I get close to finishing a project, I procrastinate. Or every time someone criticizes me, I shut down instead of learning. Without journaling, these patterns stay hidden. With journaling, they stand out in black and white. And once you can see them, you can change them. Here's just another practical tool. Reflection. At the end of each day, just ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? That's it. 3 questions. It takes 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes compound over weeks, months, years into a new level of self-awareness. Because here's what happens. Most people repeat the same mistakes year after year because they never stop to reflect. They run so fast, they never pause to ask, am I even running in the right direction? Reflection slows you down just long enough to learn, to adjust, to improve. Think about it. A pilot doesn't set the course once and then ignore it. The plane is constantly adjusting, making small corrections, staying on track. If the pilot refused to check the instruments, the plane could drift off course by hundreds of miles. Your life works the same way. Reflection is your instrument check. Journaling is your flight log. Together, they keep you aligned with where you want to go. But here's the challenge. Most people avoid this step because it's uncomfortable. It's easier to distract yourself than to face yourself. It's easier to binge entertainment than to sit with your own thoughts. But let me remind you, growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from honesty. And the most powerful honesty you'll ever practice is honesty with yourself. When you journal, when you reflect, you begin to spot your weaknesses. Maybe you struggle with discipline. Maybe you lack patience. Maybe your biggest enemy isn't out there. It's your own excuses. But here's the good news. Weaknesses once identified can be strengthened. Habits, once seen, can be reshaped. Beliefs once challenged can be rewritten. Awareness gives you the keys to transformation. And don't forget, it works both ways. You don't just see weaknesses. You also see strengths. Journaling shows you what you're good at. What gives you energy? Where you shine. Sometimes people don't give themselves enough credit. They don't see how capable they really are. Writing it down helps you see not only where you stumble, but also where you soar. And both matter. Because you want to build your strengths and repair your weaknesses at the same time. So let me give you a challenge. Start tonight. Don't wait until next week or next month. Get a notebook. Write down 3 things. What went right today, what went wrong today, and what you'll do better tomorrow. Do it every day for 30 days. Just 30 days. And I promise you, by the end of that month, you'll see yourself more clearly than you ever have before. You'll notice patterns that have been running your life without your permission. And once you notice them, you'll have a choice. Keep repeating them or start changing them. Because here's the truth. You can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Journaling and reflection are how you turn the wheel. They're how you stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. Remember, your life won't change until you do. And the first change is awareness. See your patterns. Face your weaknesses. Learn from your mistakes. Build on your strengths. Because when you know yourself, you can grow yourself. And when you grow yourself, you can change your entire life. One of the biggest shifts you can ever make in life is changing the way you see your own potential. Some people go through life with what's called a fixed mindset. They believe things are the way they are, and nothing much can be done about it. I'm just not good with money. I've never been lucky. I wasn't born smart enough. You've heard those phrases before. Maybe you've even said them. That's the fixed mindset talking. It says, I am what I am, and there's no changing it. But then there's another kind of thinking, the growth mindset. And the difference between the two is the difference between staying stuck and moving forward. The growth mindset says, maybe I don't know it yet, but I can learn. Maybe I failed yesterday, but I can try again today. Maybe I don't have the skills now, but I can build them. One mindset locks the door, the other opens it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine 2 people planting seeds in the same soil. One says, this ground is no good. Nothing grows here. Why even bother? That's the fixed mindset. They stop planting. And of course, nothing grows. The other says, this soil may be tough, but with enough water, sunlight, and care, something can grow. That's the growth mindset. And over time, with effort, they get a harvest. Both were standing in the same field. The difference wasn't the soil. It was their mindset. Now, here's the part most people miss. Your struggles are not punishments. They are opportunities. But the way you frame them determines what they become. With a fixed mindset, struggles look like proof you're not good enough. See, I failed again. I knew I couldn't do it. With a growth mindset, struggles look like practice. Okay, I fell down. That means I'm learning how to walk. That means I'm growing stronger. Same struggle. 2 completely different stories. Think of a young child learning to walk. They fall down again and again, but no one says, well, I guess walking isn't for you. Better stick to crawling. No, the falling is part of the process. The struggle is the training. And it's the same in your life. Every setback, every failure, every obstacle, it's not the end of the road, it's the classroom. But only if you have the right mindset. Let me tell you something. The most successful people you've ever admired have failed more than most people ever try. The difference is, they reframed failure. They didn't see it as a dead end. They saw it as feedback. They asked, what can I learn? How can I grow? How do I adjust? That's growth thinking. And it's available to everyone, not just a lucky few. But here's the warning. A fixed mindset will rob you blind. It will steal your ambition, your energy, your confidence. You'll convince yourself the problem is permanent, when in fact it's only temporary. You'll talk yourself out of trying again, because you're afraid of looking foolish. You'll lower your expectations so you won't be disappointed. And before you know it, 10 years pass, and you're still stuck in the same place, living the same story, wondering why life never gave you a break. So let me ask you, what if the struggle you're facing right now isn't there to stop you, but to shape you? What if that problem is not the wall? It's the weight room. Every time you lift it, you grow stronger. Every time you face it, you build muscle. And eventually, what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. That's what happens when you choose to reframe your struggles as opportunities. Now, how do you practice this in daily life? Here's a simple exercise. Every time something difficult happens, instead of saying, "Why me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of saying, "This is too hard," say, "This is how I grow." Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I learned." These little shifts in language create big shifts in perspective. And your perspective is what creates your reality. Remember this, life doesn't hand out lessons the way school does, with neat chapters and clear exams. Life throws the lesson first. Then the learning comes after. The fixed mindset says, "I guess this is the end." The growth mindset says, "I wonder what I can gain from this." Which one do you think builds a better life? So, don't run from your struggles. Don't curse them. Don't use them as excuses to quit. Instead, embrace them as the very thing that is carving out the stronger, wiser, more capable version of you. A diamond doesn't shine until it's been under pressure. Steel doesn't become strong until it's been tested by fire. And you won't discover your true potential until you walk through struggles with a growth mindset. Your life won't change until you do. And one of the most powerful changes you can ever make is deciding to see challenges not as barriers but as opportunities. Because the moment you do, the world opens up. Suddenly, every problem becomes a chance to grow. Every failure becomes a stepping stone. Every struggle becomes proof that you're still in the game, still moving forward, still learning how to fly. Motivation is wonderful. It can light a spark, it can get you excited, it can push you to start. But here's the problem. Motivation doesn't last. You can watch a powerful video, read an inspiring book, or attend a seminar that makes you feel like you're ready to conquer the world. But give it a week, or sometimes even a day, and that feeling starts to fade. Why? Because motivation is like a burst of energy. It burns bright, but it doesn't stay lit forever. And that's why habits matter. Habits are stronger than moods. Habits are stronger than motivation. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They decide what you do when you don't feel like doing anything. Because the truth is, you won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel inspired. But if you have good habits in place, they'll carry you when your feelings won't. Think about brushing your teeth. Nobody wakes up every day excited to brush their teeth. There's no fireworks, no applause. But you do it anyway because it's a habit. And that habit, over years, creates health. The same principle applies to every other area of life. The habits you build determine the results you enjoy or suffer from. Now, the mistake most people make is they try to rely on motivation alone. They wait until they feel like it. But feelings are fickle. If you only work when you feel like it, you'll never get much done. Discipline says, do it whether you feel like it or not. And when discipline is repeated long enough, it becomes habit. And once it becomes habit, it becomes easier. Let me give you a picture. Imagine rolling a big rock up a hill. At first it's hard. You push, you sweat, you struggle. That's discipline. But once you get the rock over the peak, what happens? Gravity takes over. It rolls on its own. That's habit. At the beginning you push. Later the habit carries you. So the question is, how do we build those habits in a way that lasts? One of the best tools is something called habit stacking. Habit stacking is simple. You take something you already do every day and you attach a new habit to it. For example, if you want to start journaling, put your notebook next to your coffee maker. Tell yourself, after I pour my coffee, I'll write for 5 minutes. Coffee is already a habit. By attaching journaling to it, you increase the chances it sticks. Another example, if you want to start doing push-ups, attach it to brushing your teeth. After I brush my teeth, I'll do 10 push-ups. It sounds small, but that's the beauty of it. Small habits build big change. Don't underestimate the compounding effect of little actions done daily. Daily routine design is another powerful tool. Instead of leaving your day to chance, design it, decide in advance what matters most, and build it into your schedule. If health matters, block time for exercise. If learning matters, block time for reading. If family matters, block time for them. Don't wait until the day feels right. Build it in. Because if you don't design your routine, the world will design it for you. And the world will fill it with distractions. The secret is consistency. A little every day beats a lot once in a while. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel like much. But in a year, that's over 3,500 pages. Saving a small amount of money each week doesn't feel like much. But in 5 years, it can change your financial life. Walking for 20 minutes a day may not feel like a marathon, but over time it builds health, energy, and confidence. The big results come from small habits repeated. Now let's be honest, building new habits isn't always easy. At first it feels awkward. Your old routines pull you back. That's why many people quit too soon. But remember this, the first few weeks are the hardest. Once you cross that invisible line where the habit starts to become natural, it gets easier. The rock begins to roll on its own. And here's something powerful. Bad habits are also built the same way. Nobody sets out saying, I want to be unhealthy. I want to be broke. I want to be stressed. But little bad habits repeated daily lead to those outcomes. Overspending, overeating, procrastinating. They seem small in the moment, but they add up. That's why being intentional about your daily routine is so important. Because every habit you have is either an investment or a debt. It's either paying you forward or pulling you backward. So, ask yourself, what habits do I need to build to create the future I want? What routines can I design today that will carry me tomorrow? Don't wait for more motivation. It will come and go. Don't depend on feeling good all the time. That's not realistic. Instead, build habits. Because when the habit is in place, you don't need to ask yourself, do I feel like it? You just do it. Motivation is a great spark, but habits are the engine. Motivation is what gets you started, but habits are what keep you going. And when you master your habits, you master your life. Change is not just about adding good habits. It's also about removing the ones that steal from you. Because the truth is, everyone already has habits. Some are helping you. Some are hurting you. Some are investments. Some are debts. The question is, which ones are running your life? See, toxic routines rarely show up as monsters. They don't knock on your door and announce, we're here to destroy your future. No, they sneak in quietly. They disguise themselves as comfort. Scrolling on your phone for an hour before bed feels harmless, until it robs you of rest and energy the next day. Spending money on little things feels harmless, until you look back and wonder why your savings never grew. Skipping exercise once feels harmless, until it becomes a pattern and your health starts slipping. The danger of toxic routines is that they feel small, but small repeated actions create big results. A little poison every day eventually destroys the body. A little negativity every day eventually destroys the mind. And the tricky part, these routines often feel easier than the empowering ones. It's always easier to eat the cookie than the salad. It's always easier to watch another episode than to read a chapter. But easy doesn't mean better. Easy today often means hard tomorrow. That's why awareness is step one. You can't change what you don't see. So take a close look at your routines. Ask yourself, what do I do every morning, every evening, every weekend? Are those routines building me or breaking me? Are they moving me closer to the life I want or further away? Sometimes the most powerful change starts with brutal honesty. Now, once you identify a toxic routine, don't just stop it, replace it, because nature hates a vacuum. If you simply try to quit without replacing, the old habit will sneak back in. For example, if you decide to stop mindless scrolling before bed, replace it with journaling or reading. If you decide to stop spending every spare dollar, replace it with automatically saving or investing a portion of your income. If you decide to stop complaining, replace it with gratitude. Say 3 things you're thankful for instead. Let me tell you a story. A man once told me he wanted to stop drinking soda. He knew it was hurting his health, but every afternoon he'd reach for one without thinking. I asked him, what if you replaced that soda with water and lemon? At first he resisted. It didn't taste the same. But after a few weeks, his body began to crave the freshness of water instead of the sugar rush. He didn't just quit soda. He replaced it with something better, and that made the change stick. That's the key. Don't just subtract, substitute. Replace what's toxic with what's empowering. Replace late-night junk food with a walk after dinner. Replace gossip with meaningful conversation. Replace television with a podcast that teaches you something new. Replace procrastination with a 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. And here's something else. Sometimes, the toxic routine isn't just about what you do. It's about who you spend time with. If you're always around negative people, you'll pick up their habits. If you're always around dreamers and doers, you'll pick up theirs. Association matters. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. So maybe the toxic routine is not your morning coffee. It's who you share it with. Pay attention to that. The shift from toxic to empowering routines doesn't happen overnight. It takes awareness, decision, and practice. At first, the new routine feels uncomfortable. That's normal. You're training your brain. You're rewiring your patterns. Just like muscles grow through resistance, habits grow through repetition. Give yourself time. Celebrate small wins. Each time you choose the empowering routine over the toxic one, you're casting a vote for the person you want to become. And here's the reward. Empowering routines pay dividends. They give you energy instead of stealing it. They grow your confidence instead of eroding it. They create momentum. Imagine waking up and instead of scrolling your phone, you write down your goals. Imagine replacing that nightly binge with 15 minutes of reading. Imagine replacing gossip at work with learning a new skill. These little changes may not look dramatic in a week, but in a year, they transform your life. So here's the simple formula. Identify the toxic, replace it with empowering, repeat it until it becomes habit. Do that often enough, and one day you'll look back and realize you don't even miss the old routines. The new ones will feel natural, automatic, part of who you are. Life doesn't change in a day, but it does change daily. And the way it changes is through routines. Your routines are either pushing you closer to your goals or pulling you further away. That's why the most powerful decision you can make is to trade toxic for empowering, weakness for strength, temporary comfort for lasting growth. Because in the end, the habits you choose will shape the destiny you live. If you've ever planted a seed, you know the soil matters. The seed may have all the potential in the world, but if the soil is dry, rocky, or full of weeds, that seed struggles to grow. Put the same seed in rich, healthy soil, and it flourishes. People are the same way. Your potential is the seed, but your environment, the people you spend time with, the places you frequent, the conversations you engage in, that's the soil. And make no mistake, your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. Think about it. You've probably walked into a room full of energetic people and instantly felt more alive, more motivated. On the other hand, you've probably walked into a room where everyone is negative, complaining, and suddenly felt your own energy sink. That's not coincidence. That's environment. You pick up the tone of the people around you, just like a sponge picks up water. That's why it's so important to audit your circle. Who do you spend the most time with? What are they talking about? What do they value? Are they building or are they destroying? Because whether you know it or not, you're absorbing it. I once heard it said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now, maybe it's not exactly 5, maybe it's 3 or 7, but the principle is true. Your circle either lifts you up or pulls you down. If you hang around dreamers, you'll start dreaming bigger. If you hang around doers, you'll start taking more action. But if you hang around complainers, you'll find yourself complaining too. It rubs off. Here's the problem. Many people don't choose their circle. They inherit it. They grow up around negative thinking, and they never question it. Or they settle into a group of friends who don't want to grow, and so they stop growing too. They say, well, these are just the people I know. But you're not stuck with your circle. You can choose. You can decide to spend less time with those who drain you, and more time with those who inspire you. Now, I'm not saying you cut people out of your life entirely. Sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes it's not even necessary. But you can adjust the volume. You can limit exposure. You can decide, I'll love them, but I won't let their mindset shape mine. And at the same time, you can seek out better soil. Read books by great thinkers. Listen to voices of encouragement. Join groups where growth is normal, not unusual. Because if your environment doesn't challenge you to rise higher, it's keeping you stuck. Let me give you an example. A young man once told me he wanted to quit smoking, but all his friends smoked. Every evening they'd gather, light up, and chat. He said, "I try, but every time I'm around them I cave." Of course he did. His environment was working against him. So I asked him, what would happen if you changed the routine? What if you spent those evenings with a different group? One that encouraged your health? It wasn't easy, but he eventually did. And guess what? Quitting became much easier. Why? Because he no longer had to fight his environment every single day. That's the hidden truth. Environment can either be your greatest enemy or your silent ally. If you surround yourself with people who expect more of you, you'll start expecting more of yourself. If you create an environment where learning is normal, you'll find yourself reading, studying, asking questions. If you create an environment where excuses are accepted, you'll soon be full of them. So here's a practical step. Do a circle audit. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. Then ask yourself, what are they doing to me? Are they inspiring me? Are they draining me? Are they sharpening me or dulling me? Be honest. Sometimes you'll discover that the very people you laugh with are also the people keeping you from growing. And don't stop there. Audit not just people, but places. What rooms are you walking into? What media are you consuming? What conversations are you participating in? Every bit of it is shaping you, whether you notice or not. The beautiful thing is, once you recognize this principle, you can design it. You can deliberately put yourself in environments that nourish you. Maybe it's a mastermind group. Maybe it's a class. Maybe it's simply choosing to spend more time with someone whose life you admire. Slowly but surely, you'll notice your standards rising, your language shifting, your habits improving. Because in the end, nobody rises alone. We rise in groups. We sink in groups. And the group you choose will play a massive role in determining the quality of your life. So be careful with your circle. Your circle is your soil. Plant your seed in poor soil, and you'll struggle. Plant it in rich soil, and you'll flourish. That's the power of environment. And that's why, if you want to change your life, one of the smartest things you can do is change the company you keep. One of the greatest shifts you can ever make in life is this: moving from blame to responsibility. It's the difference between pointing fingers and taking the wheel. And the truth is, as long as you blame, you stay stuck. But the moment you take responsibility, you unlock the power to change. See, there are 2 kinds of mindsets people carry: the victim and the creator. The victim mindset says, life is happening to me. The creator mindset says, life is happening through me. The victim says, it's the government, it's my parents, it's my boss, it's the economy. The creator says, I can't control all of that, but I can control myself, my attitude, my actions, my responses. The problem with blame is that it feels good in the moment, but it steals from you in the long run. When you blame, you give away your power. You're saying, I can't change until they change. I can't win until the world is perfect. And since the world will never be perfect, you've just locked yourself into a cage. Responsibility, on the other hand, gives you freedom. It says, I don't have to wait. I can start where I am with what I have. Let me give you an example. 2 employees work at the same company. Both are overlooked for a promotion. The first one says, it's not fair. The boss doesn't like me. The system is rigged. Nothing I do matters. So he sulks, he stops putting in effort, and he proves himself right. He doesn't advance. The second one says, I didn't get it, but what can I learn? What skills can I build? How can I make myself more valuable? So next time I can't be ignored. A year later, guess who gets promoted? Same company, same boss, same system, but 2 mindsets. One a victim, one a creator. And this applies everywhere. In relationships, the victim says, it's always their fault. The creator says, what part do I play? What can I do differently? In finances, the victim says, the economy is against me. The creator says, I may not control the economy, but I can control my spending, my saving, my skills. In health, the victim says, it's genetics. The creator says, Maybe so, but I can still exercise, eat better, and take care of myself. See the difference? One waits for rescue. The other takes responsibility. Now I know responsibility can feel heavy. It's easier to blame. It's easier to say, it's not my fault. But let me tell you something. You can't change what you don't own. If it's not your fault, it's not your solution either. But if you take ownership even partially, then you also take the power to fix it. The greatest people you'll ever meet are not the ones who had it easiest. They're the ones who decided not to let their circumstances define them. They refused to be victims. They chose to be creators. They said, I may not control everything, but I will control myself. And that decision made them unstoppable. So here's a challenge. Listen to your language. Are you saying, they never let me, I can't because if only they would? That's the language of blame. Or are you saying, I will, I can, here's what I'll do. That's the language of responsibility. And language is powerful because it shapes belief. Another exercise, think about one area of your life you're unhappy with. Then ask, what part of this is my responsibility? What can I do differently? Maybe it's small. Maybe it's just adjusting your attitude. But once you identify that part, you've found the key. Turn it, and the door opens. Responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. Let's be clear about that. Things happen that you didn't cause. But responsibility means you don't let what happened define your future. You decide what to do next. You decide whether to stay down or get back up. Remember, you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You can't stop the seasons from changing, but you can plant in spring, harvest in fall, and prepare in winter. That's responsibility. That's power. So stop waiting for the perfect boss, the perfect partner, the perfect economy. They don't exist. Start creating with what you have, where you are. That's how change begins. That's how lives transform. The victim waits. The creator acts. The victim blames. The creator builds. And the beautiful thing is, you get to choose which one you'll be. Because in the end, your life won't change when they do. It changes when you do. And that shift from blame to responsibility, from victim to creator, that's the day you truly take control of your future. At the end of the day, the message is simple but profound. If you want your world to change, you must change first. The outside will never bend in your favor until the inside does. Your income, your relationships, your health, your happiness, they are all reflections of who you are becoming. So here's the call to action. Don't wait for luck. Don't wait for rescue. Don't wait for the world to finally treat you right. Start with you. Start small if you have to. One habit, one decision, one change in thinking. Replace a toxic routine with an empowering one. Surround yourself with people who lift you. Take responsibility where you've been blaming, and stay faithful to the process, even on the days you don't feel motivated. Because every time you choose growth over comfort, you're casting a vote for your future self. And over time, those votes add up. That's how transformation happens. Quietly, daily, consistently. Remember this. Life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you become. So become more, and you'll have more. Change yourself, and you'll truly change your life.